Now I know this is a bit of a different video from my usual content of Let's Plays, but I want to try something different, so bear with me for a little bit. Persona 5 holds a very special place in my heart, even though I've only discovered the series in 2020. Weird, right? The game series has been around for fucking ages. It's older than I am, believe it or not. So when I decided to try the game, and I believe it was around February 2020, it blew my fucking mind. I was like, oh shit, maybe I do like JRPGs. Because before then, my only previous experience with a JRPG game was limited to Kingdom Hearts 2 when I was a child growing up. So this was a bit out of my comfort zone. I was not used to this type of game, like the lifestyle management with the dungeon crawler and JRPG aspects and turn-based combat, but it worked together flawlessly. It was amazing. And on top of that, the music, the art style, and the very charming characters all added onto the positive experience that I had going in. The gameplay and the game as a whole, rather, impacted me emotionally a lot more than I was expecting it to. Because early 2020 was a very rough time in my life. And I genuinely believe that Persona helped me get through those times. You could argue that the rough times is still ongoing, because depression doesn't just go away at the snap of a finger. But it did allow me to leave my gaming comfort zone of first-person shooters for once in my life. And I'm incredibly happy that it allowed me to do that. Now, before I move on to the palaces themselves, I want to make one thing clear right out the gate. This is not a comprehensive review of the full game. That would make this video obscenely long because there's a ton of content in this game. I'm talking like over 100 hours of content if you want to do a completionist run. It's ridiculous. And also, for the sake of simplicity, quote unquote simplicity, I will be talking about Persona 5 Royal specifically since it's the newest version, but only bits of it. I'm going to try to keep this as spoiler free as I possibly can. Now, in my efforts to keep this spoiler free, I will only be showing footage from the first couple palaces plus mementos. I'm also going to keep my focus on the designs of the palaces themselves and how they flow, generally speaking. I won't be going into specifics about bosses or enemy types or anything like that to avoid spoiler territory, because if you haven't experienced it already, I want you to do so yourself. I don't want you to get it secondhand from me, you know what I mean? I want you to go out and play the game yourself. It's totally worth it, trust me. So the palaces are pretty simple on paper. You run around, fight enemies, gather treasure, solve puzzles, secure the route to the main treasure to change the target's heart, and that's it. Sounds simple, right? Well, on paper, it is. But in actuality, it's a lot more complicated than that. Because like I said, there are puzzles, obstacles in the way, there are different story events that show up during each palace and during each boss fight during said palaces. But the palaces in Royal, compared to the base game, have been reworked in some way. Royal introduces the grappling hook mechanic, which basically means that some areas of the old palaces have been completely reworked to allow for the new method of transportation, so to speak. They also added new explorable areas that are only accessible via the grappling hook, which is a pretty neat idea in and of itself. I'm honestly surprised they didn't have this in the original game, to be completely honest. And if you want to know what my personal favorite palace is, it is the Endgame Palace, I will not say whose palace it is or how to unlock this palace, but it is arguably, in my opinion, the most well-designed palace in the entire game, including base and royal, with the most interesting boss fight in both as well. It's just phenomenal. It is fantastic. You should give it a shot yourself. It is amazing. And the next thing I want to touch on is mementos. I think I mentioned it earlier. It's almost the palace, but not quite. So the way mementos works is there's different levels. I forget how many there are exactly, but it's over 60. I know that much for sure. And each section of mementos is locked off by story events. The more the Phantom Thieves get recognized by the general public, the deeper mementos will go. And I don't think this is too big of a spoiler. Well, to avoid spoilers, I will say this. Mementos is technically optional, but it's not at the same time. In between palaces, like for example, if you've already completed your palace, you send out the calling card, beat the boss, all that jazz. I highly recommend that you dedicate a few days to clearing out mementos. Trust me on this one, you do not want to be late at the end of the game. I did that on my first playthrough, and it hurt me severely. I considered it completely optional. It's half optional. How fast you progress through it is optional, but it is mandatory that you beat mementos, if that makes any kind of sense. That's all I'm gonna go into it, because I feel like if I talk any more about the specifics about it, that'll go into spoiler territory, and I'm trying to keep the spoiler free. Now for this part, I want to touch briefly on some of the characters, specifically Ryuji and Morgana, my two personal favorites in the entire game. I especially liked Ryuji because I can relate to him in a way. In high school, I was also one of the quote-unquote outcasts. I didn't fit in with any groups. I didn't really have any friends in school. I just kind of blended into the background and was forgotten. And that's kind of what Ryuji is going through. He is a reject. He's an outcast. For different reasons than I was, Ryuji stood up to abuse from an authority figure. And because this person, Kamoshida, had so much power over the school, that he was basically able to force anyone and everyone in the silence. So Ryuji had no chance of fighting back against that until he joined the Phantom Thieves, which gave him a chance. And Morgana is kind of similar in the fact that he doesn't have a group to belong in. He's different than everyone else because, you know, he's a fucking cat. Talking cats don't exactly blend well together and with a group of humans. At first, she kind of sees the Phantom Thieves as a means to an end. It's revealed pretty early on that he believes that he somehow lost his true form, and with it, his memories of before he became a cat. And so he's using the Phantom Thieves as a means to an end to regain his true form. But along the story, he realizes that the Phantom Thieves are the only group of people who have ever cared about him. They're his only friends. He stops seeing them as a bunch of tools. You know what I mean? Because that's what he sees them as at first. As a bunch of tools to get what he wants. But he does have that redemption arc to where this is going to sound really cliche, but he learns the true meaning of friendship or some bullshit like that. Cliche way of putting it, but that's the TODR. That's basically what it is. I also like the character dynamic between Ryuji and Morgana. Ryuji is a bit of a dumbass, to be blunt. He's a fucking idiot. Morgana, on the other hand, is very knowledgeable about the metaverse. He knows a lot of stuff, and he likes to make fun of Ryuji for being a complete idiot and being oblivious to pretty much anything around him. I found that part of their relationship to be kind of funny, to be perfectly honest. I've kind of touched on everything that I wanted to talk about in this video, so I'm going to start wrapping it up here. This video was an absolute dumpster fire, I'm aware. It flowed about as well as an old man being pushed down a flight of stairs. Cut me some slack, this is the first time I've done something like this, alright? Please, be merciful. And to pretty much recap my thoughts on Persona, I fucking adore this game. And please ignore the rabid vocal minority on social media, particularly Twitter. I've seen what the Persona fandom is like on Twitter. It's fucking scary. It's terrifying, honestly. And I feel like they ruin the outside image of Persona to potential newcomers to the series. Which, to be fair, you can say that about any fandom on the entire planet. It's not unique to Persona, but I feel like the rabid fans of Persona have a particularly bad rap because they're so vocal about their opinions, to put it nicely. But the art style, gameplay, and the level designs came together in such a way that this is one of the only games I would even consider giving a 10 out of 10. Now, I don't like giving games numerical values because I don't think they actually mean anything. But if I had to give it a numerical value, this would be the only game I would give a perfect 10 out of 10. Even though that there are some annoying spots, particularly one boss fight, Okumura Koff. He's not that bad in the base game, but his reworked boss fight in Royal is a bit annoying, but I won't go any further than that. And like I said at the beginning of the video, I know this is an extreme variation of my normal content, of my, horror Let's Plays. Mostly Resident Evil. Like a third of my entire content is Resident Evil at this point. But I wanted to try something new, I didn't want to box myself into just doing Let's Plays. I want to do one of these on occasion. It's not going to be a common occurrence, but it is something I want to try out from time to time. In the future, I might do another, like a proper review of a game that I love, or a game that I hate. Who knows? We'll cross that bridge when we get there. And besides, this is my YouTube channel. I can talk about whatever the hell I want, however the hell I want, and whenever the hell I want. And I know this video isn't gonna get a lot of views, but I don't give a shit. If I gave a shit about the amount of views my videos got, you'd know, trust me. I do a lot more scummy things in my videos to try and up the click-through rate, but I really don't give a shit. I make videos because I think it's fun. It's one of the only ways for me to properly express myself, I guess, in a way. But I guess that just kind of reflects my ideology. I don't know if that's the right word, but that's the word I'm going with, of YouTube as a whole. YouTube should just be about making stuff that you vibe with. Make whatever content you want, given that it falls within TOS and is above board and is not illegal, obviously. You know what I mean? I shouldn't have to say that, but you'd be surprised. Anyway, enough with the stupid tangent bullshit. I need to wrap this trash fire of a video up. And if you made it this far, damn. What the fuck are you doing? I'm surprised. Well, regardless, thank you for listening to my, thing? I don't know what to call this video. This isn't a review. It's not like a retrospective or anything like that. It's a rant. That's really what this is. It's a rant. Anyway, goodbye, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.